Is Imam Mahdi about to appear soon? Are we going to live to see the time of Dajjal? Are we living in the end of time? These are frequent questions I'm being asked at this moment, especially with the current situation going on in the world. To understand all of this, you have to first understand that the Prophet ﷺ gave us minor signs and he gave us major signs. Okay, now major signs. There are 10 of them, starting with Dajjal, then Isa, AS, and then so on. These are 10 major signs. None of the major signs can appear until all the minor signs have appeared. And where is Imam Mahdi in all of this? Imam Mahdi is the bridge between the minor signs and the major signs, meaning that he will be the last of the minor signs, and he will live to see the coming of Dajjal, live to see the coming of the first of the major signs. Okay, so now if the minor signs don't all appear, then we won't see Dajjal, okay? Remember that. And from the minor signs, the scholars have said that most of them have appeared, except for a handful of them that haven't appeared. Of them is a hadith in Bukhari and Muslim where the Prophet ﷺ speaks about the river Euphrates, which runs from Turkey, goes through Syria, all the way through Iraq. That river will recede and it will leave behind it like a mountain full of gold. The Prophet ﷺ has warned us not to go there. He said, for every 100 men that go there, every man thinking that I'm going to be the one taking the gold, he said 99 of them will die and only one of them will come back alive. Okay, that's a minor sign before the day of judgment, which we haven't seen yet. Until that doesn't come, Imam Mahdi is not coming. And you know Dajjal is not coming after that either. Another of the minor signs which hasn't yet appeared is that the Prophet ﷺ speaks about in a hadith in Muslim that the Arabian Peninsula would return back to becoming green and have rivers flowing in it. We haven't seen that yet, and there are a few others that haven't come. Of the signs that haven't come is the lot of battles that the Prophet ﷺ speaks about, and a lot of wars that happened before the coming of Imam Mahdi. Okay, so one of them is a long hadith about the Romans. And when the Prophet ﷺ says that word or that phrase, he's referring to the current day Europeans. In his time, they were the Roman Empire. In today's time, it's the Europeans and the people who traveled from Europe going to America, because that's how America was founded. And anywhere else from Europe that they went, these are the Romans. They will divide into two. There will be a part of them that will be the enemies of Muslims, and part of them will be sympathetic towards the Muslims. Those who are sympathetic towards the Muslims will join the Muslims together in a war and fight the others who are the enemies of the Muslims. And these battles carry on. Some they will lose, some they will win, and so on. Until one day, the group that are sympathetic towards the Muslims, with the Muslims, they win over the others. Okay, they live in peace for a little while, and after that one day they fall into dispute. The Muslims say, we won this last major war because of the Quran, and the others say, we won it because of the cross. And they have a fight between them now, and in this fight, the Muslims are defeated. And the hadith mentions that Imam Mahdi is coming after this. Okay, so Imam Mahdi comes at the end of this war. That's one hadith. There's another hadith in Abu Dawud which speaks about the succession of Khulafa. Now, Khalifa is a person who rules the entire Muslim world. We had this for centuries and centuries, from the time of Abu Bakr up until about 100 years ago. That whole succession, it comes in again, and there are many successive rulers. One last ruler has passed away. A new ruler is supposed to be elected. They are in Sham at the moment. The Prophet ﷺ speaks about Sham in various hadith. When he says Sham, he doesn't mean today's Syria only. It covers the whole of Syria. It covers Lebanon. It covers parts of Egypt. It covers parts of Iraq. Okay, it is a massive part of land in Sham. These leaders are sitting together and they're about to elect the next leader. Each one is ready, could become a potential leader. And they have a dispute over who should be the leader. One of these men who could become the leader, he has had enough of this. He runs away from there. He goes to Mecca. He doesn't want to become the leader. The others look around. They say, "Where's that man gone?" And they say, "Well, he's gone to Mecca." So they say, "You know what? Let's make him the leader." They come all the way to Mecca. They find this man. He's doing tawaf of the Kaaba, and they force him to become the leader of the Muslims. Just like the Muslims forced Abu Bakr in the past to become the leader of the Muslims. Now this man is the Mahdi. How do you know he's the Mahdi? Not because of this occurrence, but because of another occurrence that happens at that very moment, which is they left behind them when they came down from Sham. They left behind them an army. That army becomes rebellious and they say, "What? They're making this guy the leader of the Muslims. No, we're not taking any of this." So they come with a whole army trying to crush those people. When they get to Medina, in an open plain, the earth splits beneath their feet and the entire army is swallowed and crushed inside. When that incident happens, we know the man they gave allegiance to in front of the Kaaba. He is the Mahdi. Now, when Imam Mahdi appears, his task is to unite the Muslims. His first responsibility is to bring all the Muslims together. He becomes the Khalifa of the Muslims. Once the Muslims are united under his leadership, he heads to Europe for a major war, a truly massive conflict. Subhanallah, the Hadith speaks of this war where a third of the Muslim army becomes martyrs, the best martyrs of the time. A third flee the battle and are never forgiven. The remaining third are victorious with Imam Mahdi. With this victory, Imam Mahdi now has control over Europe and establishes stability and just governance. He fills the earth with justice, just as it had previously been filled with oppression. One hadith mentions he will travel all the way to India and Persia to unify Muslims. Now that he holds power, there's an important point to understand. Before Imam Mahdi appears, several wars must occur. What we're witnessing in the world today may resemble war, but it is not the one that brings forth Imam Mahdi. There are many more events that must unfold. According to Hadith, once Imam Mahdi gains power, he will frequently travel between Jerusalem and the northern lands, possibly back to Europe. Scholars say this suggests that Jerusalem will not be under any other occupation at that time except by the Muslims, under the rule of Imam Mahdi. Some scholars argue that Dajjal will have his base near the Jerusalem region. There is scholarly debate about who will occupy Jerusalem at the time Imam Mahdi emerges and when Dajjal appears. But many scholars lean toward the view that Imam Mahdi will have control over Jerusalem, as the Hadith mention him going in and out of the city. One narration says Dajjal cannot enter Mecca and Medina, referring to the sanctuaries and their surroundings. A Hadith from Musnad Ahmad lists 4 places Dajjal cannot enter: Mecca, Medina, and a mosque. When the Prophet says masjid, does it refer to the specific mosque only, or does it include the entire surrounding region? That is a matter of scholarly discussion. Does this mean the surrounding areas are under the occupation of those attempting to seize them now, and Dajjal is only blocked from entering the mosque itself? Or does it mean that the entire region is under Muslim control again? The scholars are divided on this. Another hadith describes Dajjal's first major group of followers as coming from the east, from a place called Isfahan in Iran. There will be 70,000 Jewish followers who rally behind him. They will be his first and strongest support. Why from that part of the world? Why are they his earliest followers? Is it because Dajjal has his base in the east and only later travels to confront the Muslims in the Middle East? We cannot say for certain. However, we remain hopeful. Whatever is happening in the world now, it doesn't necessarily mean those trying to take over will succeed completely. They might be present for some time. How long? We don't know. But we do know that these events are far from the end. So where can you find more about this? I urge you to read the tafsir, exegesis, of the beginning of Surah Al-Isra. If you want to understand the future of Jerusalem, what will happen, what has happened, then look to the Quran. That's what the Quran came for. to guide us on matters of critical importance. Why would Allah dedicate the beginning of Surah Al-Isra to this place and its fate? Each time a major occupation occurs there, Allah tells us the eventual outcome. Read the tafsir yourself. Whatever happened in the past is likely to repeat itself in the future. In the end, there will be no occupation left because Allah will send His chosen people. They will enter the masjid just like those who entered it before. Does that imply a full occupation by those currently trying to seize it? Maybe. It could very well be that they do fully take over. Or it could also be that these current events pass, and later Imam Mahdi comes to take charge while Dajjal doesn't have his base there. It could go either way.